The first thing I saw when I turned onto my street was the black asphalt. Fresh, smooth, and completely covering the private driveway I had
The
owned
white
for 8
arrows
years.
indicate the property
Then
line,
I saw the new
which you
white
have
lines
clearly
painted
paved
across
over.
the entrance.
This is
My lawn torn up
unacceptable
along
according
the
to the
edge,
covenants.
and a metal sign drilled into the ground. Community access only. I was still standing beside my truck with my suitcase in one hand when Linda Harrow, the HOA
We posted
president,
the sign last week.
stormed toward me with
This
2 board
driveway
members
is now an
behind her.
official
Her
part of
face
the
was
community
red.
access
Her finger
route.
was already pointed at my chest.
As
And she
per
shouted,
Section
"You
4,
cannot block this
subsection B
road."
of the bylaws,
I looked at the
commercial
driveway listed
vehicles
in my
are strictly
deed, the
prohibited
one I
on
paid
private
taxes on
residential
every year.
asphalt.
"This is not a road," I said. "This is my private driveway." Linda laughed. "Not anymore. The HOA approved this improvement
We
while
notified you
were gone.
about the runoff
Once it's
issue.
paid for the community, it
And we had the
belongs to
county
community.
survey on the easement
One
after
board
your
member threatened to
modifications
tow my
damaged
truck.
the drainage.
Another said I would be fined for interfering with neighborhood infrastructure. I did not yell. I did not touch the sign. I just raised my phone and started recording. That was when Linda noticed the survey stake still in the grass, the security camera above my garage, and the county marker beside the drain they had destroyed. They thought they had turned my driveway into their shortcut. What they had really done was pave their confession in black asphalt. Before all of this, I was not the kind of person who went looking for fights with an HOA. I paid my dues on time. I kept my grass trimmed. I followed the rulebook, even when the board members ignored it themselves. My house sat at the far edge of the neighborhood, where the subdivision ended, and an old county road curved past a line of oak trees. That quiet separation was the reason I bought it. The private driveway was the heart of that privacy. It ran from the county road to the back of my garage, bordered by drainage stones and the crepe myrtles I had planted myself. It was where I came home after long shifts, where my brother parked when he visited, and the only route wide enough for an ambulance or fire truck to reach the back of my house without crossing the HOA's common road. When I bought the place, my closing attorney pointed to that driveway on the survey and told me to keep the paperwork safe. That strip of land was inside my parcel, not HOA common area, and not part of any shared access agreement. So I kept the deed, title policy, survey, and closing packet in a blue folder in my office closet. For 8 years, nobody questioned it. Then, the neighborhood grew. A new section opened behind us. Traffic backed up at the main entrance, and the HOA started talking about traffic flow, emergency access, and resident convenience. Those words sounded harmless. They always do. So, if you have ever dealt with an HOA, a neighbor, or anyone who thought your silence meant permission, pay attention. I wanted peace. The HOA wanted my boundary erased, and they picked the one piece of land I had paperwork for. The first email came with a harmless subject line: Community Access Improvement Project. The HOA said it had approved a secondary access route to reduce traffic at the main entrance. The message was full of polished words like safety, convenience, and long-term planning. It never mentioned my driveway, but the attached map did. A red line ran from the new rear section toward the county road and stopped exactly where my private driveway began. I emailed back and asked what property they planned to use, what permit had been approved, and who had authorized work near my parcel. The HOA manager replied with 2 sentences. The project has been reviewed and approved by the board. All affected residents will benefit from the improvement. That was not an answer. 2 days later, I found wooden stakes pushed into the grass beside my driveway, not along the HOA road, but inside my drainage strip. My camera showed 2 men in orange vests walking the lane while Linda Harrow stood nearby with a clipboard. I asked again for the permit number, contractor insurance, board minutes, and any document proving HOA rights over my land. Nobody sent anything. Instead, Linda told me I was making the process difficult. She said the neighborhood had changed, emergency vehicles needed options, and my driveway was the logical solution. I told her logic did not override a deed. Her smile vanished. "You are one homeowner," she said. "This project benefits everyone." A week later, I left town for 4 days to help my sister after surgery. Before leaving, I locked the side gate, put a small chain across the lower entrance, and attached a private property sign. I also checked that my cameras were recording. When I came back, the chain was gone. The gravel shoulder had been scraped away. The drainage stones were buried under fresh asphalt. Tire tracks cut through the grass. One of my crepe myrtles was snapped near the base. My private property sign was lying bent in the ditch. My driveway had been turned into a painted road. White lines, directional arrows, a new metal sign reading community access only. Linda arrived and acted annoyed that I had come back before they could finish celebrating. She said the HOA had invested in the improvement and expected me not to interfere. Then, she said the sentence that ended any chance of a peaceful conversation. Once it's paved for the community, it belongs to the community. The next morning, I received a $750 violation notice for obstructing HOA-managed infrastructure. The obstruction was my own truck, parked on my own driveway, on my own land. That was when I understood this was not confusion. The HOA believed that if they acted official enough and repeated the word community enough times, my property rights would disappear. But they made one mistake. They put everything in writing. I wanted to rip that sign out of the ground. I wanted to drag the chain back across the entrance, park my truck sideways, and make every car turn around while Linda watched from her window. But I knew that was exactly what the HOA wanted. They wanted me angry. They wanted a video of me blocking traffic or damaging the asphalt, so they could turn the story into one stubborn homeowner creating a safety issue. So I did nothing dramatic. I walked the driveway with my phone and recorded everything. The fresh asphalt over the drainage stones, the tire marks through my grass, the broken crepe myrtle, the bent private property sign in the ditch, the missing chain, the HOA sign drilled into my lawn. In Ispende, I filmed the white arrows painted across my driveway and narrated the date, time, and location. Then I went inside, opened the blue folder from my office closet, and spread every document across the kitchen table. The deed, the title policy, the closing survey, the plat map, the HOA declaration, D. The survey showed my driveway completely inside my parcel. The deed described that strip as my property. The HOA documents listed common roads and shared areas, but my driveway was not included. Then, I pulled the security footage. That was when I saw how badly they had overplayed it. The video showed the contractor arriving while I was out of town. It showed a worker cutting my chain, Linda pointing toward my garage, and another man pulling my private property sign from the ground. Later, equipment scraped my gravel shoulder and spread asphalt straight onto my land. I saved every clip twice. Then I checked the county permit database. The HOA did have a permit, but only for resurfacing HOA common roadways. The map stopped before my property line. My parcel number was nowhere on the application. I called the county clerk for certified records and hired a licensed surveyor. The next morning, he marked the boundaries with orange flags and confirmed the asphalt was not on HOA land. By sunset, those flags ran down both sides of my driveway like a warning line. I emailed everything to a property attorney, the violation notice, HOA emails, camera footage, permit record, and surveyor notes. His reply came back fast. Do not block the road yourself. Do not remove the sign yourself. Do not argue with the board. Preserve everything. This is bigger than a driveway. So I stayed quiet. When residents drove through, I recorded from a distance. When Linda sent another warning, I saved it. When a board member posted that the access lane was fully approved, I took screenshots. For the first time, I was not just angry. I was patient, because every careless sentence, every official notice, every painted arrow, and every car using that driveway was helping me build the one thing the HOA could not shout down: a record. The attorney called me at 8:17 the next morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the orange survey flags through the window, when he said, "They did not just pave your driveway. They may have compromised their own access route." At first, I did not understand. Then he explained the old easement buried near the end of my deed. It allowed limited access for maintaining underground utilities and drainage. That was all. It did not allow the HOA to run residential traffic across my land, convert my driveway into a community road, cut my chain, remove my sign, damage landscaping, or paint arrows like they owned the place. He had compared the deed, plat map, HOA declaration, and county permit. The permit covered resurfacing existing HOA common roads. My driveway was not a common road. My parcel number was not listed. No recorded easement allowed public access. No owner consent had been filed. And because the asphalt changed how rainwater drained toward my garage, the HOA may have violated county stormwater rules too. That was when the whole story turned. Linda wanted residents to believe I was selfish and dramatic. But the documents showed the HOA had taken a permit for one area, pushed the work outside its legal boundary, damaged private property, and used an internal board vote like it could rewrite county land records. My attorney sent the demand letter that afternoon. It ordered the HOA to stop using my driveway, remove the community access only sign, preserve all project records, cancel the $750 violation, restore the drainage, compensate me for landscaping, and provide the contractor's insurance information. Linda did not apologize. At the next HOA meeting, she said I was holding the neighborhood hostage over a strip of pavement. She called the route a safety improvement and said one homeowner should not stop progress. But by then, my attorney had already sent the survey, permit, footage, and deed to county code enforcement. The county's reply changed everything. If the HOA was using that paved section as an access road without a valid permit, recorded easement, approved drainage plan, or owner authorization, the entire shortcut could be classified as an unpermitted roadway. Not just my driveway. The entire shortcut. After that, Linda stopped laughing in emails. The board started calling it a temporary access issue. The HOA manager suddenly asked if I would be open to discussing a cooperative solution. But cooperation was not the problem. Authority was. They had none. The HOA had not built a road over my land because they were sure they had the right. They built it because they were sure I would not know mine. The county inspector arrived on a gray Thursday morning with a clipboard, a tablet, and the kind of quiet expression that made everyone else nervous. Linda was already there with 2 board members, standing beside the community access only sign like she still controlled the driveway. The inspector did not argue. He asked for documents. Linda handed him the HOA permit packet like it was a shield. He opened the map, looked at the asphalt under his boots, then looked at the orange survey flags running down both sides of my driveway. Then he asked the question Linda had avoided for weeks. Where is the recorded easement for vehicle access across this parcel? Nobody answered. One board member tried to say the board had voted on the route. The inspector did not even look up. A board vote is not a recorded property right, he said. A deputy sheriff arrived soon after with a body camera and a notebook. My attorney had requested him because the HOA had already threatened towing and fines. The deputy asked Linda for any document proving the HOA could remove my chain, pull my sign, or allow traffic through my driveway. She handed him the meeting minutes. He read one page, gave it back, and said, "This shows what your board wanted to do. It does not show permission from the property owner." For the first time, Linda had nothing sharp to say. Then, code enforcement walked the site. They photographed the damaged drainage stones, measured the asphalt past the property line, checked the snapped crepe myrtle, and compared the permit map to the paved route. The inspector confirmed the work had gone beyond the approved area. Then he said the access route had to be closed immediately until the county completed its review. Linda's face changed. Not because my driveway was being protected, because her shortcut was being shut down. By noon, the county had placed temporary closure notices at both ends of the route. The HOA sign was tagged as unauthorized. The contractor was ordered to provide work records, insurance information, and proof that he had verified permission before paving outside the common road. Residents slowed down in their cars, staring at the orange notices, then at Linda. For weeks, she had called it a fully approved improvement. Now a county inspector, code enforcement officer, and deputy sheriff were standing there, calmly proving the opposite. Before leaving, the inspector gave the HOA 10 business days to submit all records, drainage plans, contractor agreements, and proof of legal access. Until then, the route could not be used. Linda looked at me like she wanted to blame me. But she was standing on my driveway, surrounded by county notices, while the law finally caught up to the asphalt. The HOA had 10 business days to prove legal access. They could not. The county kept the access route closed. The community access only sign had to be removed. The damaged drainage had to be restored. The asphalt across my driveway had to be cut back, regraded, and sealed so it no longer worked as a neighborhood road. The $750 fine disappeared without an apology. Then came the costs. The HOA reimbursed my survey fee, part of my attorney's fees, the damaged landscaping, the broken chain, the private property sign, and the drainage repair near my garage. Insurance covered some of it, but the deductible and uncovered expenses came straight out of HOA funds. At the next public meeting, Linda tried to say the board had acted for safety. A resident asked why safety required cutting a homeowner's chain while he was out of town. Another asked why the permit did not include my parcel. Someone else held up the newsletter where Linda had called the shortcut fully approved. That was when her control over the room collapsed. 2 months later, Linda resigned as HOA president. The contractor lost the rest of the road project and was reported to the licensing board for working outside the permitted area. The board adopted a new rule requiring attorney review before any project touched private property. As for my driveway, it went back to being quiet. The crepe myrtle was replaced. The drainage was repaired. A new private property sign stood beside a fresh survey marker nobody could pretend not to see. I never built a wall out of concrete. I built one out of documents. Every email, every camera clip, every permit page, every orange survey flag. And that wall sealed off the HOA's shortcut better than brick ever could. So if an HOA, neighbor, or board ever thinks confidence can erase your property line, do not let anger become their evidence. Save everything. Read your deed, check the permit, call the county. I did not win by yelling louder. I won because the law was already standing on my side of the line. And if this story made you think about your own property boundaries, leave a comment with what you would have done, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories where the smallest piece of paperwork brings down the biggest bully.